I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good day, Prescott Perez-Fox. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful day?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's been a funny week, so I'm sort of catching up with a few different things and watching the clock and being like, oh my God, everything is sort of crashing together at once. So I'm trying to just finish it up. I teach a class on Wednesday and Friday nights, so I have to finish a certain amount of things by the time the class comes around. So it's funny because I'm the professor, but somehow I got a lot of homework to do myself.
Well, it's good to know that you're here. I mean, that always beats not being here, right? Tell me, what part of the world are you in right now, Prescott?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, sweet. And which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
Well, let's see. I guess it would just be me as a podcaster, because
family.
Yeah,
family. You say podcast, I say family.
Sure. Well, I read the list, podcast guests, I think it is, and it was saying, guests needed, and here's the nature of the show, and I'm like, hey, I could do that. So I'm always kind of grazing and browsing the other podcast worlds to see what's up. So that's probably how we got connected specifically.
I love it. Well, tell us about your podcast. The Busy Creator podcast.
Sure. Yeah, it's called The Busy Creator, and it's a show about creative productivity. So that is essentially how the work gets done. And I talk to graphic designers, web designers, illustrators, writers, photographers, all type of creative people about how their work happens. So it's not, I like to say, a inspiration and motivation show. There's enough of that. And then it's also not really a show and tell, because that's hard to do in an audio format, right? So if you go on Pinterest, you can see plenty of completed work. And then if you go to some conferences, depending on which ones, there's a lot of inspiration, motivation, kind of rah, this kind of thing happening from the stage. And so I like to focus on everything in the middle, the how, the grungy in-process workflows, software, methodology, habits, that sort of thing.
Yeah, raw material. I like it. Well, who did you learn this skill from? The skill to understand that it's not the way it looks all the time, that there's a process going on.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if there was one place that I learned it. I mean, I learned a lot of my design acumen from my advisor in graduate school, who was like a mentor to me. And, he kind of told me a lot of times to do it again, or to take a second look, and not to trust your first instinct, but keep revising and keep prodding and working on it, sketch new ideas, and even just give it time, because your first instinct is not necessarily wrong, but it's only the beginning of what is eventually going to come out. And as I started working more as a freelancer, you see a lot of different agencies and a lot of different in-house teams and how they set up their workflows and everything. And so you borrow some good ideas from this one and you leave some bad ideas from that one. And over the years, you really start to develop a bit of insight about how people work and not just who produces the best thing in the end.
Yeah, I love that. It is testament to what I've done, and it definitely works. Even the copy I'm using for this podcast quest that I'm on to have these 800 conversations, the first copy, the thing I wrote, has definitely morphed, because some people ask questions that are different, so you don't want them to have to ask a question. You just want them to click and book, and it keeps becoming more. And I think it's a principle that goes across the border. Why will you continue to repeat this skill, Prescott? This skill of, I like the name Prescott, right? It's like your iron or your pressing clothes, it's a process. Why will you continue to repeat this skill?
To repeat it, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I've talked about this on my show too, that you can never win at productivity. There is no end point. There's just the process. There's just the journey. And so you always try to improve a little bit against yourself, and you measure yourself against what you did yesterday. So not necessarily what someone else is doing, or how to improve your workflow by just automatically photocopying another agency or another company, but run these experiments with yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do as well. And it's been kind of tough. Like, for example, a lot of people like to wake up really early, and there's kind of what I call the cult of 5 a.m. and these people that like wake up at the crack of dawn and drink a spoonful of melted butter and all this weird stuff and write in their journal, I don't know, left-handed in Latin. Like, it gets a little over the top, right? And I wouldn't suggest anyone do all those things overnight, but try one of them and maybe you'll find that it is fruitful. Or some people like to do these 30 or these 40-day experiments.
Yeah.
Like that's totally cool because you don't know what might stick and what might turn into a years-long habit or even a lifelong habit. But you got to run some experiments. So that I'm still in it, man. I'm the expert, but I'm also the student.
Yeah, I love that. Well, tell me one other thing that you've done, Prescott, consistently over the last 3 years.
Over the last 3 years, goodness. Well, I mentioned Pinterest before, and I definitely spend a good amount of time on Pinterest, constantly just looking for new inspiration, things that inspire me graphically. I kind of mentioned like the high-minded, inspiration, motivation, but like when you're actually looking at material, when you're looking at furniture and architecture and things that have actually been produced, it starts to create connections in your own mind. And it could just be a shape, it could be a color combination, it could be an entire website or project that someone else has done, and you just think, oh yeah, that's great, I'm going to save that. And especially the way that Pinterest works, it shows you similar results. So if you're actually researching for a project, you can go down I don't want to say a rabbit hole, but you can go in one direction and find a lot of what you're looking for as a starting point or as this kind of raw material. So I spend a lot of time on Pinterest, definitely over the last 3 years. I mean, it's been probably more like 5 years. Something else I do, this I probably do every day, is read a bunch of different blogs via the RSS feeds. And I'm still an old school blog reader, an RSS junkie, and I look at certain blogs and I comment on them and I listen to podcasts, and some of those I've been listening to for like 12 years,
Wow.
Things like I'm thinking of Coverville, In the Groove, Jazz and Beyond, Grammar Girl, the BBC News. Like they are such a part of me and my daily and morning routine. It's slightly unbelievable to think what I did before these podcasts and even other websites, like Brand New, I always like to comment on, and I just went to the Brand New conference in September, so it's good to actually see the people who not only organize the blog and the conference, but the people who comment on it as well, and the fellow readers, and so we sort of have that in common.
I'd love to see a video on something like that, on the process where you're doing that, where you're going through the RSS feeds. How you do that. I think it'd be intriguing. I'm not sure if you'll do it, but I just think it would be something intriguing to click on to see how I look at multiple blogs, or how I go through multiple RSS feeds.
Yeah. The trouble is with that RSS, like podcasts, like email, is very personal. And it's you can't really prescribe how to do it. Like if someone could make a video, a screencast of like how they do their email in the morning, and you might watch it for 30 seconds and be like, there's no way I'm doing that, and then just go. It's so personal, you really have to devise a strategy for yourself. And even something as simple as, like, for example, I read from the bottom up. I read the oldest things first. Within that, the last time I checked it 8 hours ago or whatever it is, I read from the bottom up, and some things have a more compelling headline, so I'll click on those. And whereas other things, I'll read all the headlines and just mark them all as read. Like, for example, there's a way now, YouTube just changed this, which is really frustrating, that you can subscribe to a YouTube channel as an RSS feed, which is cool. But because of the way it posts in your browser, the video is embedded, but you can't download the video because they just changed it's a whole big thing. So I used to download the actual MP4 files as I saw them, as they looked interesting to me. And now I have to actually go to YouTube and put them into the watch later list and watch them on the site. It's so annoying. The damn ads and everything. Like, when you create a workflow for yourself and then suddenly it's kind of slapped and tossed on his head, that it may sound like petty things,
No,
software.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but it's very personal.
It's
I mean,
a lot. Like, I'll tell you, like, my 1 minute on my podcast, like if someone comes on 1 minute later than usual, then That could be a 3-minute delay, but a 3-minute delay, 7 podcasts later, right? With 3 minutes, it's 21 minutes we're behind. And again, as you said, it could sound like a small thing, right? But it definitely adds up. And I'm guessing with your workflow, that is what occurs as well. Suggest to someone why they should do what you've done, Prescott.
Oh man, the funny thing is, like, I got to be honest, I probably would not suggest what I've done, and maybe I'm a little close to it at the moment, but I started a podcast by myself. That's not what I suggest doing. I think everybody should team up with someone else, even if it's for a small portion of it, right? Even if it's 10%, just the social media or just the email marketing side of it or whatever it is. Don't do it by yourself. I would also suggest not being a freelancer. Like, try as hard as you can to work full time until you're absolutely certain that whatever your next chapter is, if you want to set up your own shop or you want to be a consultant, that you've really equipped yourself. So I got to be honest, lately, now maybe this is just me because I'm sort of in between jobs and a little frustrated, that I'm recommending to people to go the complete opposite direction and to use my experiences almost as a case study, as a deterrent.
Interesting. Well, you heard it here, amazing audience. We do have a Prescott. I said Prescott. Prescott Perez-Fox. He is the podcast host of the Busy Creator podcast. Hey, Prescott, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Prescott, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Wow, I think it is when I was, I guess, about 3, maybe 3.5, and my mother was pregnant with my younger sister. And I can remember my older sister and I were sort of arguing whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. And of course, at this time, this is the 1980s, like there was really no way to tell before the baby was born.
Was it a boy or a girl?
It was a girl. Yeah, it was my younger sister.
Oh, so who was correct? She was correct, or who was correct?
I guess she was, because she just wanted it to be a girl as well. You know that.
Why do you think this memory is so clear? How old do you think you were, though?
Probably 3.5, because
Wow.
well, when she was born, I guess I was 3.5, so I was like, 3 and whatever, 3.25. And I don't know, honestly, I can't say. I mean, I guess family is important in a general sense, but that is something I do remember.
Yeah. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
At 3.5 or 3.25, it's fascinating to know that you understand the process that is actually occurring there with your mother, right? Like, she's going to make a baby, and as amazing as that sounds, it speaks to who you are in understanding processes and how they work and what comes or what doesn't come. And it's good to know that you're still doing that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that's true.
It is fascinating. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Oh man, probably some like really bad rap song. I don't know what the favorite song was. I remember I used to listen to "Passing Me By" the Far Side. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was a big hit at the time. Let's just say that.
Wonderful. Well, it all connects. All right, so we have now arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to go pretty quickly. Prescott, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
No.
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day? Sure.
So I do not sit on the couch at the appointed time and watch a broadcast, but I do watch a lot of content, some of it while I'm doing other things. And yes, it adds up to 3 hours a day. And that's everything from the BBC to YouTube videos to the mainstream networks.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Yeah, it's more than 8. It's more like 18. It's pretty much, if I'm awake, there's some gadget going on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Prescott, after having 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, I came up with a workbook, and the name of it is Yours, Your Own Unique Real Self. Connected to that is your own unique real statement, something that represents your mission. If you had to share with us, Prescott, your own unique real statement, something that represents who you are, what would you say that is?
Well, there's a pursuit to simply make the world a little more orderly. And this is through design, this is through conversation, and just to kind of snuff out the brutality of life, the chaos. And I mean, I'm doing it one step at a time, one business card at a time, making things easier to read and understand, and designing a workflow within a company that just helps everyone be a little bit less stressed. So I'm only one person, but that is the larger pursuit.
I love it. Prescott Perez-Fox, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I'm very open. So to anyone listening, please hit me up on Twitter. That's great. And the Busy Creator website is just busycreator.com. I'm very open to conversation. You can reach me on email or any of the social platforms, and I'm happy to make those connections.
Love it. Prescott Perez-Fox, thank you for being on 12 Minute, or what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.